This morning's episode of Audit Austin Code Compliance, we're going to readdress the shed issue on Councilmember Cesar's home. As it turns out, he probably needed a permit to demolish that little structure. But of course, he was never fully educated by the code inspector. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And this isn't, again, the council member's fault. This appears to be a selective enforcement or just poor education on the part of the city inspector. Let's take a look at the case log. Okay, here's the case log. You're familiar with the address, 300 West Skyview Drive. Greg Cesar is the owner. Complaint date was March 14th. The complainant states, it appears that the council member, Cesar, has removed a smaller structure, reference 25.112, definitions, number 112, for structure, from the rear of his property that was in violation of the property line setback. Please reference code case 2016-01-0532. However, the esteemed council member failed to get a demolition permit pursuant to section 25-11-37 of the Land Development Code. So it appears that there's lots of references in here. We're going to look at those in just a minute. Brian Eberwine is the code inspector who initially did the case, and he's the one assigned to this. He states there was a complaint filed on 2/17, and again, this is in March now, on the property for structures in the rear setback. The left structure was outside of the setbacks. We know that the left structure, the side structure was, but not the rear of it, is not within 10 feet of the setback. But the right rear structure was inside, side and rear setbacks. Again, he only focused on the smaller structure. A notice was sent to the property owner to remove the structure from the setbacks. The owner chose to remove the structure altogether. The accessory structure was less than 200 square feet and did not require a building permit to erect. Therefore, a demolition permit is not required to take down. So this statement here appears to be an opinion and not based on any code, because he's not referenced any code. I've looked and there is no code that talks about this. I took a photo from the right-of-way to show the structure was removed. There is no complainant on the file to call and educate on this matter. No violation. We'll close Brian Eberwine. All right, that's the code case. Very simple. Let's take a look at his photos real quick. So here's the case photos for March the 15th. You can see the front of the house. You can see here's a photo of the air conditioner that he did before, and it almost looks like the same photo, but looking right here back through the woods, not a very good photo. This is where that shed used to be. So the inspector states that he didn't need a permit because it was under 200 square feet, but the inspector failed to give a reference. So let's look at the references in the complaint and see if they hold any water. Okay, here's 25.121 definitions from the city's Land Development Code. It reference number 112. Okay, 112 is right here. Okay, 112, a structure means a building of any kind or a piece of work artificially built up or composed of parts joined together in a definite manner. That's the definition of a structure, a building of any kind. Doesn't say under 200 square feet. A structure is a building of any kind or a piece of work artificially built up or composed of parts joined together to define in a definite manner. All right, so fact check number one is good. Let's take a look at the city's own website on code compliance and see what it has to say. Okay, here's the city's website. It is the austintexas.gov Common Code Violations. Here you see your code inspectors talking with the real police here. Common code violations. And here we have something right here. Property owners or their agents must get a permit to construct, enlarge, alter, repair, demolish, or move a structure. In addition, they must get a permit to change the use of a structure. So perhaps Brian Eberwine should have looked at his own department's website. It is very clear here that their website says property owners must get a permit to construct, enlarge, alter, repair, demolish, or move a structure. We've already looked at what the code says the definition of a structure is. Let's look at the last reference in that complaint. Okay, so here's the complaint here. We looked up the definition of a structure. It does meet the definition of a structure. We know it's the setback, the case number, so we're looking for failed to get a demolition permit pursuant to section 251137 of the Land Development Code. Let's take a look at that. So here's section 251137 of the Land Development Code. It's very clear that a demolition permit is required, except as provided in subsection B. A person may not demolish all or part of a structure. And again, we've just seen the definition of a structure, unless the person first obtains a demolition permit from the building official. A demolition permit is not required to demolish all or part of an interior wall, floor, or ceiling. No, this was an outside shed. Except as provided in Article 4, Special Requirements for Historic Landmarks. Yeah, I don't think this shed was an historic landmark. The building official may issue a permit to demolish all or part of a structure. There it is. This is the city's code. This isn't an opinion of some rookie code inspector. This is the law, this is the ordinance adopted by the city council, that you need a demolition permit before you can demolish all or any part of a structure. And that shed was a structure. So the complainant most likely had it right. This little shed does meet the definition of a structure, and a demolition permit is required. This code inspector failed to reference anything about the code that talked about being under 200 square feet. We did a search and we couldn't find anything about 200 square feet in the city's code. So it appears that the code department, this inspector in general, is making things up to protect the council member from having to abide by the city codes. Shame on you, sir.